This is AFKast, the video game podcast. And here's your host, Malcolm Sheaver.
Alright, welcome to the first video podcast, or at least for those who are watching on YouTube. For those who are listening in on the regular podcast websites, this is still going to be the same as usual. I might make some references to a video that is showing on screen, but hopefully I don't do that to the point where you guys don't understand what is happening, for those who are just listening in. But anyway, for those who have been holding on to that 1 year pass, you finally have access to the final episode that takes place in Aroa. This week on AFKast, we're talking about Episode 3, Red Patriot, and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Alright, so the beginning of this episode starts inside of Erewhon, where there is actually a radio transmission that you can have come through that is actually coming from Scott Mitchell. So Scott Mitchell is like one of the OG commanders in Ghost Recon games. And once again, he's back in a, well, sort of DLC, more like a title update of the story. By the way, he gives you intel on your final threat, who is Stone. You have been threatened by Stone all throughout the story so far of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And essentially you need to track down various targets and take them down to stop gas bombs from basically killing billions all over the world. So some pretty intense stuff. But you have 9 targets to take care of. Then you can take down Stone and stop his evil plan. I think you can actually take down 6 instead of all 9 and then go after Stone. It's just that I took down all 9 before I went after Stone. It really doesn't take that long to take down each target. It's not like Ghost Recon Wildlands where each separate target that you have in a branch has a bunch of missions you have to follow. Each one of them just has one mission, including Stone. But the story is very quick and simple, like I said. But I had a lot of fun taking down these targets, and it was satisfying putting Stone's smug face in the dirt where it belongs. And it was interesting because it really felt like kind of the essence of what Ghost Recon games are supposed to be, where it's you go in and assassinate a target and it destabilizes something. And so this really picked up on that effort. I do kind of wish there were a couple more missions that was based off of each of the different targets, but kind of like how it was in Wildlands, I should say. But some of the missions were longer, where you kept having to bounce between locations trying to find your target, which kind of had a very similar effect. But yeah, anyway. So one of the biggest things in this update as well is the new class. So this update, they released the Pathfinder class, and it literally allows you to fly an advanced version of the drones that will drop flares on you and send elite teams to kill you, which are otherwise known as the Azrael drones. So the giant red plane icon that will fly across your map. Those are it's basically you get to fly one of those. And if you actually have a teammate who is using it, you will see it as a blue icon on the map, of the same exact plane icon, which is interesting. And the drone that you fly doesn't have a name, but it is described as a high altitude recon drone, and it is equipped with powerful tools. AKA you have 5 missiles and an infinite amount of intel scans, lures, and flashes, each with their own cooldowns. And you do have a certain period of time that you can stay inside of this drone, and there is only one way to fill your technique gauge, and that is why and that is by using your class item, which is known as the uplink protocol. So you use this for a short period of time to call the drone to your command, and then you can use your technique at any time to actually activate it. And these do stack, and the best way to obtain them is by finding the new tactical caches that are in the game. These caches are crashed drones that have supplies for you and your allies. And it's not just like a one person picks it up and you're done. It's more of a like each person can pick it up separately, which is really useful. And you can pick these up and they will give you equipment, gear, consumables, and rations. And this even includes class techniques. It's probably one of the best things it is used for, especially as the Pathfinder class, where you want to find those uplink protocols so that way you can call the drone to you. And the uplink protocols do stack, which is really nice as well. I think I already mentioned that, but they do stack, which makes it a lot easier. I have not really found... I never really went through and found what the exact stack count is, so I don't know what it is total. But anyway, the Pathfinder class allows you to get better supplies from these caches, and it also allows you your rations to last longer and have more powerful effects. And the last class proficiency is that you have a new vision that you can use, and it is white hot thermal vision, which sadly cannot be used in Ghost War. But this new thermal vision is much clearer than the old one in the game. Old one, but it's much more clear. And for those who are watching video, you can see the difference. For those who are just listening in, you got to take my word for it. But instead of this being like the whole blue, green, yellow, all that hue and stuff like that going on, where it looks like there's literal like thermal stuff coming off of people, instead it just outlines everything in a black and white looking picture. So basically it just turns your game into black and white is kind of what it looks like. But it really outlines people and is much easier to see than that whole blue, green, yellow system that you have in your original thermal vision. And I can't really speak for how powerful this class is in Ghost War, as I do not play this game for Ghost War and didn't play it with this class at all. And so I have no idea how it works. I don't even know how powerful the Azrael drone-like thing that you can call in works in Ghost War. But I'm hoping it's not too powerful, because it sounds like something that is really powerful, because you can do a lot of damage with this thing, especially when it's literally a plane, an unmanned plane that you can drop bombs on people. So, or unmanned drone, I guess. It's a very scary UAV, basically. But I will say that a new map was released and 2 missions pertaining to the new class have been added, but that is all for Ghost War, along with some bug fixes and whatnot as usual. So Ghost War didn't get a huge update. This was mainly for the Red Patriot missions and the new class. And there is also one other big change that has come to the game, and that is AI companions. So I know a lot of people were asking for AI companions in this game because they were used to having them in Wildlands, and they were very helpful. They changed it so they are better now, but they still don't quite work how I feel like they were supposed to work. So they added new AI companions that you can turn on or off. Their names are Vasily, Fixit, and Fury. They're the ones that you always see in the trailers. And they are very similar to how they are in Wildlands, like I said, where you are able to change their gear, gender, and outfits. And you are even allowed to put on an entire costume for your characters. So, like, if you want to, you can make one of your characters Walker for whatever reason. But this is pretty cool because you can have teammates like Sam Fisher or, like I said, Walker. You can even have, if you did the Terminator missions, you can even have a Terminator on your team if you really want to. But one thing that you can do that you couldn't do in Ghost Recon Wildlands is change what weapons they have, which is supposed to change how they act, but it doesn't quite work, like I was mentioning at the beginning. So when they have a sniper, they're supposed to find vantage points and snipe from a distance, while shotgunners are supposed to like get up close and personal with the enemies, and be on the front line, take cover, everything like that. So that way the shotgun is used to its full effectiveness. But they don't quite do that. So as you can see in my video, sorry for those who are listening, Vasily, who has a sniper, is pushing up and is in the front line shooting at targets, while Fixit, who is in the back with me, has a shotgun and is trying to shoot at them from a distance. which doesn't really make any sense. If anything, the roles should be switched. Fix-It should definitely be where Vasily is up front, and I feel like Vasily should be even farther behind me than Fix-It is. And Fix-It isn't even behind me, but I feel like Vasily, or whoever has a sniper, whoever you put a sniper onto, should be more drawn towards like sniper towers, roofs, mountaintops, cliffs, anything like that. Because that is kind of how they branded them in the AI companion trailer, which I would suggest that you look up. But yeah, so it doesn't quite work how it's supposed to, but they are still very, very effective. And this was a reoccurring thing, by the way. So it is still efficient, but it is not just like it wasn't just a one-time thing that was going on. I think I did see them do it a couple times where Vasily was in a good vantage point and Fix-It was up front. But it seems to just be wherever the character's player decides to go, like wherever the AI decides to go. So I think it was pure coincidence. But you were also able to give very similar orders to them as you were in Wildlands, except this time around they are much better at executing those orders. So you were able to tell them to hold their position, which they actually do in this game, because in Wildlands they did not hold their position when you asked them to. You can ask them to go to a specific location, which once again they do much better than the Wildlands AIs did. You can ask them to regroup on your position, same thing, more effective. Or they can go hot on the enemies, and they're kind of the same as the AIs in Wildlands when it comes to that, because both are pretty efficient at getting kills. But this time around it looks more realistic. It's not like in Wildlands where you'd see Weaver shoot through like a cliff to kill someone. This time they actually get eyes on the enemy, they get up close with them and stuff like that, and they take them out. And once again, you also have sync shots and everything like that for them. And then you also have the sync shot drones, which allows you for a 7 target takedown, which is pretty cool. At least if you shoot one shot. Like I can usually take out 3 or 4 people by myself without any assistance. So if you as the player just fire one shot, you can take out 7 people with the sync shot drones and the sync shot for your AIs, which is really nice. And one thing that is also really cool is that you can actually give commands while you're in your drone. So you can have better areas to tell your team where to go to. Or if you drone out someone who is sneaking up on your location, you can tell them to go hot. And another thing is that they also added in what was from Wildlands, where you could press up on the D-pad, or at least on PlayStation and Xbox, it's up on the D-pad, where it allows for the AIs in the vehicle to start shooting at whatever is nearby. So they added that again. Sadly, the entire wheel isn't there, but it kind of makes sense because you don't really need regroup, go to, etc. And once again as well, they will teleport into your vehicle, so you don't have to worry about waiting up for them. And they will also teleport to your location if you take something like a motorcycle that just has 1 seat, or some of the helicopters have just 2 seats. So they will teleport to your location. I haven't tested out that if you die in weird locations like you would in Wildlands, that the AIs would teleport to you and heal you. I don't know if that is the case in this game, because I didn't really think to test it out, and I can't really think of a good place to test it out. But anyway, another interesting thing is that they will also, so like if your gun doesn't have a suppressor on it, then the AIs also won't have suppressors on their guns. But if you decide to put a suppressor on your pistol, rifle, whatever you're currently holding, one of the characters will say like going silent or something like that, and the entire team will put on silencers. So they will follow your exact moves. So if you crouch, they'll crouch. If you prone, they'll prone. They'll make sure that they follow your exact moves, which is kind of similar to how it was in Wildlands. Like in Wildlands, they would crouch and prone whenever you would, but I'm not entirely sure if... I think they just kind of always were... The sounds were always suppressed if you told them to do a sync shot while it was suppressed. and I think their shots always counted as being heard if they didn't have even if they had a suppressor on it if you're going hot. So it's kind of a weird thing in Wildlands, but in this it is much cleaner and much better. And that's kind of the overall idea of the AIs in this, is that they're cleaner and better than they used to be. But like I said, the whole weapon idea seemed to have failed in that aspect. And there are a couple other smaller changes in this game besides the AIs and stuff. The AIs are probably the last big change in this update. But a couple other smaller things is that the gunsmith has changed, so it's more accessible. And it does this by allowing more attachments to be put onto weapons, onto more weapons, I should say. So like more buttstocks can be put onto more ARs, snipers, etc. Same thing with like muzzles, grips, everything like that. So they're more accessible all around than trying to find a lot of specific attachments for each of your weapons that you have, which is a smaller thing, but it does make life a lot easier for someone like me, who I like different loadouts depending on what class I'm currently using. But they also added some new vehicles, paints, outfits, etc. that you can buy from Maria's shop. A couple of the vehicles, like the AFKast vehicles, are very interesting to use because they're much better than I would expect them to be, considering that they look rusted and stuff. But they're very fun, and I like that they added them into the game. But of course, you also have all the little patch notes for various bugs, glitches, or unintended content that you can check out for yourself. I'm not going to list all of them out because it was a pretty long list. And sadly, there are still bugs and stuff remaining. This game has been, from the start, a very bug-heavy game, which kind of sucks. But I found this update to be really fun, even though new bugs and glitches have been introduced between this update and the previous major title. But I'm not here to review that. I'm just here to review this update. And I like how this is set up similar to how Wildlands was set up, just on a smaller scale, where you have essentially the different branches leading out to different targets that you have to take down in order to take down the main target. So this is basically kind of one of those special branches like security or production or smuggling, influence, whatever it was. So it's kind of like one of those smaller branches now. I still think even with all 3 episodes, this game is still smaller than Wildlands was from the beginning, which is really sad in my opinion. I was really hoping this was going to be a big update to allow a bigger story. And sure, there are a ton of side missions and like a ton of loot that you can get inside of the game. The map, I'm pretty sure, is bigger. I'm not entirely sure about that. It might actually be smaller or even the same size. And also, not to mention the raid as well. So I understand they had more stuff to work on than in Wildlands, where they just basically had the Katara's 26 missions, and then they also had the just the regular missions inside of the game. But it still felt like the story could have had a lot more to do with it, and I was really hoping that Red Patriot would expand that, but I'm pretty sure Red Patriot is probably the shortest out of all of the episodes, especially if you skip the last 3 targets and just go to Stone. So that kind of sucks, but I did really like it. The game is still really fun. I just kind of wish there was more content involved story-wise. Like I said, more missions for the people who were leading up to Stone, or even Stone having multiple missions would have been interesting as well, where you kind of had to track him down and chase him. Or maybe even stop the launch from happening. That would be interesting. Because one of the side missions in the game is literally defusing a nuke. So, but anyway, it was, like I said, it was really fun. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the first video podcast. Please let me know how it was on both the podcast version and video version, so that way I can fix any problems that might have occurred. But besides that, game on.
Find AFKast on Instagram and Twitter, @AFCommunity, for any updates on future podcast episodes. If you want to join the community Discord, find the link in the description or on the website afcommunity.com.